Thank you so much for joining me on this very special Facebook Live. I'm taking a moment to catch my breath. Thank you, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday here in the US. I do have someone, a beautiful someone, Isis Lior from Spain, that I'm going to be interviewing today on today's talk, which is all about why being good will destroy your life. I'm super excited, and I'd love to just read a little bit of Isis's bio to get you excited about who you're going to be hearing from today. So Isis Lior is responsible for a movement of whole, ripe, and unapologetic women who are finally coming out of the closet. For almost 20 years, she has been passionately teaching people how to connect both hearts, the one in their chest and the one in their pelvis. Isis has been featured in a myriad of newspapers and radio shows alongside people like Storm Large, Dan Savage, Deborah Anapol, and Sark. She is a counselor with an extensive background in body psychotherapy, tantra, and hypnotherapy. Basically, she does some kick-ass embodied work online and in person through workshops, intensives, and private sessions. I love that. She is currently working on her book, Feral Female. And in addition to a lot of official studies, Isis has also howled at the moon, been saved by Qigong, taken drugs with a therapist, smoked a peace pipe, flipped off of shaman, learned and unlearned emotionally responsible language, danced with their shirt off in public, avoided marrying an Essen guru, and worn cocktail dresses all over the world while going commando. And so I just want to say I'm super tickled and excited to have Isis Lior on here. Isis, welcome. I'm gonna unmute you.
Thank you. That was fucking fantastic. Yes, good to be here with you. And we made it. Woo!
We made it. It is such a joy to have you here. And it really feels like so liberating to read your bio, honestly, because I've been going commando for just forever. And honestly, a lot of times when I think about not going commando, I'm like, it's because I have my period, you know? And so it's really awesome just to feel, I feel safe here with you. I feel like I can be myself because you have permission to be that expressive of just who you are. So I just want to say, like, can you speak at all to the safety piece? Like when we can be unapologetically ourselves, our expression, like it can create a safety, right? A safety and a permission for others that we're
yeah, I've been talking a lot with women that I'm enrolling about, their fear of being big and how, there's a certain place we get to where we're triggering a lot of people and it feels like, oh, maybe I should be quiet and shut down. Like maybe I'm too much. And then there's the level above that where you realize the gifts that you're giving and that you're not just triggering people, you're catalyzing them, you're welcoming them, you're giving them permission. And that there's other women out there like you and I who are just like, fuck yes, more. Your bigness is the container that you're automatically, you step into your room and people feel like they can expand up until this. And what an amazing thing to walk in and immediately be permission where people drop into their belly and they drop into their sexuality and suddenly they start to breathe and feel. And while that might be uncomfortable for some people, I mean, people fly out to be around gurus because they have a big energy field and they're catalyzing. And we're also catalyzing in a different way.
I love that so much because honestly, I have a wound coming up and I think just expressing to it would help other women to maybe feel it. I have been in workshop spaces where I have been very openly expressive and crying and just emoting. And I had several women go up to the teacher at the workshop and say, you know, she's just wanting approval. She's taking up so much space. She's making it all about her. And honestly, that's a big reason. And then, of course, the shame of hitting my "I'm too much" wound. And then what the reaction is, I've gotta be more considerate. I've got to shut myself more and kind of make myself smaller. Can you speak to that? Because like, yeah, or have you noticed women that have challenged by that?
You're cutting out a little bit, love, because your bandwidth is low. I don't know if you can hear yourself cutting out, but
I can. Were you able to hear me?
I was able to hear you right up into the end, but kind of gauge what you were saying. That place of getting the reflection of like, actually, you are too much. Um, I remember being a teenager and just starting to spread out into my gifts. And my mom said to me, "Isis, you're like the sun. You come out and you're nice and warm." And I was like, "Oh, that's nice." And she's like, "And then you burn." And I was like everything in me just completely collapsed, right? Because it's so scary to think that you're going to become yourself and actually you won't be livable. And that is exactly the reflection that I got. And so I was also carrying that wound for a really long time. And then maybe 10 years later, I was sitting across from a friend of mine and she started, "Isis, you're like the sun." And I thought, you got to be kidding me. Like, like this is like not even possible right now. And she said, "The sun is the sun. The sun is big and bold and beautiful, and people get to decide how close they want to fly to it." Right? And this feeling of like, when we get to be exactly what we are, we attract a different caliber of person. Right? Like the person who says, "Yes, thank you," the woman or the man, or, whatever in between, who is able to stand there and say, like, "Actually, I'm comfortable when you're open and big and full." And the way that you and I feel comfortable with each other, if you were to contract, I would feel less comfortable with you. And there's people that I'm around where I just feel like my nervous system can relax. And those people are my friends. The rest of the people I consider students, right? Like, or people who could be students, right? So I think when you're in that situation, being able to say, "Wow, there's something here that I'm offering that's really catalyzing and is bringing up a lot of stuff. And maybe there's something here I could teach or offer if it's the right situation." Otherwise, I go find the people who are like, "Thank you. I can relax with you."
I love that. And I'm hoping that you can hear me now. Like, can you give me a thumbs up? Like, okay, great. I love that so much. And one of the big pieces, Isis, that I really learned is that when people are judging me, that it's more of a reflection of something that's going on with them. And often they might need to, this is a huge piece, and I want the viewers to understand this, is often people's judgment is a way that they don't know how to make a boundary, right? So if an energy is too much or like really big, instead of judging, it's like, "Oh, wow, my nervous system is uncomfortable with being around this person. Maybe there's something to look at within myself, but what do I need right now to take good care of myself? Like, do I need to like breathe? Do I need to like leave the room? Do I need to like," because it does take a while around big energies to learn how to honestly calibrate your own nervous system and to figure out like, how much can I take this person in? So do you relate to that? Like, often people that don't know how to set boundaries will use judgment sort of as an attempt to try to figure out how to take care of themselves.
In all honesty, I don't encounter that anymore because I think I've gotten to a place where I feel less apologetic about who I am. Like, I'm not saying that's what's going on for you, but just this place of like, I understand it's a gift, but it has taken a really long time to get there. I think the place where I encounter fear and my own contraction and wanting to caretake the most is with men, like sexual partners, because it is so catalyzing. And a lot of times they have no reference point for that amount of energy and they have no skill to relate to it. And that's part of what you're saying, is that people just don't have the skill, and they also might not have the experience, or they had experience in a way where maybe the big energy was really ungrounded. And, and destructive, right? Because being a big energy, it's so important to be really rooted and sensitive and connected to our witness and there. And a lot of big energies are just like, they're tornadoes that just sort of go off on their own without the person really actually being present. And that is destructive. So they're getting triggered in that way. So yeah, but I'd love to talk more about the man thing, but I can tell you want to say something. So
yeah, I just want to say thank you because you're helping me have more empathy. See, that's the thing is when people get triggered in relation to a big energy, the curiosity is to be able to drop in and go, oh, wow, what veil of past pain or what wound is being stimulated? Not for like to fix or anything, but just for us to have deeper empathy and understanding of like, oh, wow, maybe this big energy reminds some way that, a man or someone in there, a woman that was super controlling or even abusive or that was, yelling or in a way that like the other person didn't feel like a sense of the grounded, like solid, considerate, loving pillar of energy. So the importance for big energy is also to be grounded and aware of the way that we're transmitting our bigness, right? Like, because I do meet unapologetic women that have permission to just be judgy and to be critical and to be like, well, fuck you, and that's like, okay, there's a difference there, right? Like how to be unapologetic, but to not lose our sense of consideration and care and groundedness with our energy. So I really hear that, like what you said, the sense of holding our root, holding our ground, and being aware of the whole and the witness energy. You want to just touch in on that for
I really do. First, I want to say the first time that I heard a woman express anger, that was like real rage. I remember thinking to myself, I'm in hell, and just being absolutely horrified because I was so repressed with my anger. And it really was so confronting to see someone who could let go in that way. And I completely shut down and just hid. And it took me a little while to come back and learn how to work with that. So our energy is really catalyzing. But I think, in the same way where there's like people imagine Farrell as just sort of wild and like scrappy and like fighting all the time. And I actually mean it as like fully embodied and authentic and connected and sourced. That we often see big energies that are destructive, that are very unconscious, right? Like somebody drinks a lot and they kind of lose their sense of self and all their shadow comes out. So when I first started having Kundalini experiences, I talked to a Qigong teacher who had been through a Kundalini awakening. He's like, look, Isis, whatever shadow you have, it's going to be activated and enhanced by this energy, just like all of your gifts. And so it's really important that you clean up and are aware of your shadow before you just start running juice through it. And I think about that with these people who are spiritual teachers who are molesting little kids, is that there is a responsibility for us in being in a big energy and being aware of our triggers, being aware of like where we could go unconscious and staying in this space of really being connected and aware. Do you want to say something?
Yes, powerful, super powerful. And I know we kind of went off a little bit, but I know a lot of it relates. And so I asked you what you wanted to talk about today, and you sent me the title, Why Being Good Will Destroy Your Life. I was like, wow, pow, can you speak and touch into that? Like what, something you feel inspired to share around that?
Well, just to follow this thread, I think you and I talked about this, that there's a lot of fear of, if I let go, if I become big, will I be judged? Will I be unlovable? Will I be alone? Will I act badly? Like, will my shadow just pour out instead of, my gifts and the fullness of who I am? And a lot of confusion, especially for people who haven't kind of dug through the treasure chest of what's in there, of like, what's shadow and what's raw aliveness. And it really takes an alignment and a sense of trust to let go and trust what you've put into place, right? To have cleaned up the system enough to just be like, go, let me be here, let me test the edges. It also takes a certain container. So I think most people don't have that. Most people have never worked with somebody like us, or don't even know it exists, or find themselves in a community where maybe they're playing with certain parts, but there isn't a big enough container of someone who is like, done the work enough to be like, more, go further, go deeper, go into the body, fuck the language, fuck the trying to get it right. Like, let's actually go there and see what's there, so that you can run your energy without having to monitor every little thing, because this is not authentic. This is not going to give you good sex. This is a lot of fucking work. I know, because I did that. I started with the mind. I started with the language. I started trying to say all the right things, and I was stuck here. And I'm like, why don't I feel a passion? Why do I feel like I'm just trapped in another construct? And yet it looks so progressive. And so the good girl is the like, I'm going to get it right, even if it's our own inner growth, at the expense of not having to let go, at the expense of like not risking that I might come out in a way that fucking scares me. And this is why we create these containers, so that people can do that. Yeah, go ahead.
You really fucking just like hit something with me, like really just was sharing that, because I felt like that for a long time with my personal growth. There was like something I was trying to get to, the languaging, the way to talk, the NVC, the way to like figure it out and be sourced. And like, I recognized like I was trying to mold myself into something to feel good enough, so that I could be the wise, respected elder or teacher. And like, there's this part of me that just like, I just even in the last 6 to 8 months, that just went through a devastating loss in relationship, and was just like, fuck it. I am like taking all the tools, I'm throwing all that shit out, I'm throwing all of what I thought I was good at out. And I'm just going to be unapologetically just expressing my pain, my truth, and keep it in my sense of like, not out of a way of like getting approval or victimhood, but like, this is what's real, like beyond what I've learned, beyond the tool, beyond of trying to teach you. This is what's fucking real right here. And like, it did take a lot of like judgment and like a lot of people coming at me, because I was changing, right? Like I was letting go. I was letting go of something to feel worthy or good enough. And I had to feel the strength of like those people that judged and cleared off my page and cleared, as I became unapologetically in my raw expression without trying to be something, be right, be like a filtered thing. And but just the courage to let go into that authenticity. And so thank you for just like touching that deep core, in me. I would love to ask you a little bit about just a deeper on this topic, is like the idea of how being stripped away from our grit has also stripped us from our passion. So like, what would you define as grit? Like, can you speak more about that?
Everything that really makes us a woman, as opposed to a girl, or not even a girl, but a lady, lady versus woman. Like, for example, and I have permission to share this, it's juicy. I had a lover recently, and we were in an argument. And I was sitting in a dress kind of like I'm wearing now, because I don't wear knickers. Like, you completely, like, I was sitting cross-legged. He was sitting cross-legged. You could just see right up my dress. And he was like trying to arguing, and he's like, it's really distracting that I can see everything right now. And I was just like, I had a moment where I was like, tough shit. And I was just like, I trust your ability to hang out with your desire and let it fuel this conversation, and I don't want to cross my legs. And it felt amazing to just have this moment of like, I'm not doing anything wrong here. Like, I know that there's this idea of like, if someone's sexually aroused, like it's bad or distracting, but I'm not buying into that, and like let's just have like a sexually charged argument, And he was like, boom, like he came in a completely different way. There was like a moment, and then we just attacked each other. Like, because I didn't give myself away, and I didn't play nice, and I didn't kind of, I feel like when we start compartmentalizing and making ourselves smaller, when we take away that roar, like even from like the most basic stuff, like somebody didn't take out the garbage, and we're trying so hard to say it in a nice way or a thin way, or we're not really saying like everything we want to say from the fullness of our bodies. I think that's where that thin niceness comes from. It's like this compartmentalized kind of like little channel instead of all of it. Like the problem with the garbage could be like, look, I fucking want you, and right now I don't really trust you. So like, can you fucking take out the garbage and then bend me over the sink, please? You know, like that's a different conversation than like, honey, can you take out the garbage? You know, like that's not sexy, but we do that all the fucking time, right? Because that's good, right? It's good versus like raw and full.
That's so amazing. I really love that. And I want to say I still get triggered. Like because Michael and we're playing with that a lot, consciously, where he's like, I'll ask him something or I'll start getting a little commanding or whatever. And he'd be like, no, I'm not going to fucking do that right now. And then he'll order me around to do something else. Like, go sit over there, just go relax, get off doing work, And at first I felt like, oh my God, he's controlling me. Like he's, this is like not okay. I don't feel respected. Like all that sort of make wrong energy came out. And then I was like, wait, actually, this is coming from love. Like, first of all, I can trust that my man knows how to fucking speak up and take care of his boundaries. Right? Like, I know where my man stands. If he doesn't want to do that right now, he's going to fucking tell me. And then like, he's going to like say, stop being critical right now, go sit on the bed. And then like, he turns it around and makes it kind of like, helps me to almost like relax. But I had to work through a lot of triggers around it. And so it does, like, even when we change this dynamic, either within, like when we own our own grit and like unapologetically speak up for like what our needs and boundaries are, or when someone else does, we have a lot of shit surface, and that's where you talked about like having the right coach, having the right mentor, having the right guide that can help you dissect it, look at it, integrate it, feel it through the body. It's taken me a long time. I'm still, I know you are still like looking at your stuff, like, but for me, it's been like a good 10 to 15 years of like some deep work, probably more 8 or 9 of like really deep shadow work and shit. But to be able to get here, and a lot of people just think, oh, wow, like they're so amazing. It's like, this took a lot of fucking work, like a lot of work. So just want to hand it back over to you.
And yes, it has taken a lot of work, and it takes a lot of trusting the feeling instead of needing it to look a certain way. And I think that's the changeover, is when you get to a place where you trust yourself and your guidance and your feeling sense instead of having to make it make sense in your head. Because these are why we're given these constructs of like, use this language, use that language, is because we're not at a place where we're trustworthy and we're trying not to mess it up. But when you've done enough work to run the energy through and say the thing that is loving, even if it sounds like not what you're expecting, it's kind of a graduation of sorts. And it takes a while to trust that, but you can see with the right dance partner, with somebody who's also sitting and feeling with you, being like, that's love. It's amazing. I also want to say, before I turn it over, Love, that you and I are in a certain place and we have certain personalities. But for somebody else, connecting to the grit could be taking a breath, instead of like restricting, or using their voice to just say like, that doesn't feel good. Or it could be something different or of a different flavor. Like, we're talking big, I think, because we want to demonstrate like where this can go. But for a lot of people listening, connecting to the grit could be like considering whether or not they're allowed some pleasure, or being able to say, like, actually, what would feel good is this. And that could be super gritty and super edgy.
Yeah, thank you for speaking to that. I think especially women, as it relates to like diving into the work of relationship, and going into deep connections. Even romantic connections or just other connections, is to be able to go, actually, I would like this, I would like to adjust this and have this, or I would like more time or slowness within the way that you're touching me. That's really powerful, and just being able to speak to what it is that we desire. I would say it's still an ongoing one for me, because often last night, I also want to share, like, me and Michael were intimate, and I told him, I said, I have a fear that I'm asking for too much. It's the too much thing. And because I do like him to really kind of like dominate me and hold me and squeeze me, and and he did give me the reassurance, like, this gives me a lot of pleasure too, to like know that you're taken care of. He was a champion, he was amazing. But to be able to even speak, I think also I want to say part of the grit is also being able to speak to the vulnerability, which is desire. But like, wow, babe, like, I have a fear right now that like I'm asking for too much. You've been giving to me for about 15-20 minutes. And honestly, it's the piece of why it's more challenging for me has been more challenging for me to open up into an orgasm, is because I was the giver forever. Like, that's how I felt in control, was to be the one that pleased men, to give to men, and to not move into a place of receptive surrender. And so just want to throw it back on you and see what you have to, if there's anything you'd like to share in reference to that.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely beautiful. And the nice girl, right, is the one who will only give and never receive, where the woman who's full and connected to her rawness and the totality of her aliveness also is really wanting to be nourished, and knows that there's a gift of being nourished, and what happens when her energy gets big from that place because she's full. But I think a lot of us have that wound around our voice, or how much energy do we get to take up, or how much space do we get to take up, or is this really a gift, or is this a taking? And there's this shift over, like what you're talking about, between feeling like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm being so emotive and it's catalyzing for you, to like, actually, this is a huge invitation. And I'm drawing you into my fullness as I become more full. And this is not something that's one-sided. This is something that's a field that I'm creating.
Wow, that's powerful. I've never heard that terminology. Like, by my expression, this is a gift, I'm drawing you into my fullness. Like, that's so powerful. Like, this is something that's actually not just what I'm not just commanding, like, to actually have you just hold space. Like, I'm desiring to move into this energy as a gift together. And that's a different perspective, that where it becomes more about almost like the interpersonal collective field, rather than now like I'm taking up space and you're holding space. So I don't know, that's just what came up for me. I was like, wow, that's pretty like a different way to look at it.
I'm sure it's saying I'm muted. Okay, you can hear me. Yeah, I'm sure that you've experienced this, like when a man really lets go and shows maybe his raw or his grit, or cries, or like there's some way that he dissolves into his fullness, and he's no longer trying to be the version of himself he thinks he should be, and he actually shows up. That there's a way that you are dropped more into the invitation of like, okay, you show up more. Like, there's space for you, just like we were talking about with like big energies and big spacious energies, where like suddenly like you either feel relaxed or you feel invited. And so we're also doing that for each other in bed. So So when we let go of the nice girl and this idea of being nice and this idea of being good and the restriction around it. I mean, when I hear the word good or nice, I feel like a restriction in my throat. And I also feel it, less in my heart for me, but more in my pelvis of just like, shut that shit down. That is dangerous. That's going to get you in trouble. That's going to create conflict. Those are also the places in me that are the most full, alive, and expressive. And that's the thing that creates the field and the invitation. So if that's not nice and good, nice and good is like, we're using these words because they're charged and because they've been distorted. I mean, I think that's the best fucking thing in the world to be full and alive. Back to you.
Yeah, I so love that. And I think it's an invitation, hopefully, men out there, you know, it's like, I know you and I both do a lot of work with feminine identified, but a lot of men like are visiting our page, you know, and really taking this in, and so thank you to all the men that are out there that are really like taking this in. Is I really want to say to you, please, like, drop the mask, come into your authentic self, your authentic roar, your emotions. I mean, that's the one thing I honestly want to say is when I met Michael, I was blown away. Like, he cries almost every fucking day. And when I get into my super like critical controlling place of stress out and I'm blah, 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 you know, sometimes he moves into a place of doming me. And sometimes he comes up and he's like, babe, and he starts crying. He's like, babe, I miss you, babe. You know, and it's beautiful. It's again a demonstration. He's not always in the dominant, you know, like role. He also drops into this like incredibly like depthful vulnerability that like it stops me dead in my tracks. And it's a state change, right? Like you said, it's like when he drops into the fullness of his expression, it commands me to drop into the transmission of his fullness, which is the transformation of my being as well. So I'm like, I know this, but you've opened up a whole new idea of a collective field that we can create when we drop into our rawness in the place of like a gift for the other that I don't think I've really thought of in a way. So I just want to say thank you for just like the energy that you're bringing this morning, like the gift that you are, and like I can just feel it. Like you're transforming me. So I can only imagine like the people, the women that, you know, that you're working with and such. So anything else you feel like inspired to share just on this topic in general?
First of all, I want to say, I just fucking adore you. and thank you for the bigness of who you are. For me, it feels really comfortable. It feels like, I can relax here. Like I can play here. Like I felt and seen here. This is amazing. So thank you so much. Thank you. And you also bring that to the containers that you hold. So it must be amazing to work with you. Like, that's such a big gift. And then I guess the last thing I want to say on the topic is that our rawness creates like a boundary where somebody actually can, like you can feel the shape of someone. And when we're so busy being good and nice, we kind of disappear. Like we're amorphous. And so all the things that we're hoping for, being good and being nice, while we're disappearing, we can't get them that way. We have to actually show up and be defined and have something where somebody can bump up against it and there's a no, or they can feel the yes, where they can feel the shape and the color of us, you know, and that takes letting go of these ideas that keep dissolving us like into the background. You can't be loved if no one can see you. You can't be loved if no one can feel you. You know, that's why it will destroy you, because you're not there.
Oh my God, just like, I would like feel the chills and then the tears. That's so powerful. I love your ability, and I can tell you've done a lot of embodiment work, because that's huge. Like the idea of when we play nice or good, we literally dissolve into nothing, and then we wonder why people can't see me. Why do I feel rejected? Why do I feel invisible? Why? Well, it's because you've abandoned yourself. It's because you're actually not there. So this is the invitation to bring your, like you said, your fucking definition, to bring your voice, to bring the color that you are. I mean, like, that's the thing, is like, nobody ever fucking talks to me like that on a call. Like, to bring your definition, to bring the color, like you just said that, I was like, dude, that's new languaging that I'm going to integrate. So thank you. Yes. Good girls, nice girls, like stop dissolving into nothingness. We need you. We need the truth of who you are. We need your desire. We need the realness of what is calling you forth, what your yes is, what your no is, what your definition, what defines you. And I guess I want to say is, like, by doing that work, that's what is allowing me to show up online here, to be of service, to offer something, to like create the dreams, to go on the trips, to like define what I want, and then be able to go, I'm worthy of that. And I can bring that expression and definition into the world. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. And I would like to take a moment to invite whoever is watching this to come work with us, because I am this way because people have held bigger spaces than I could hold for myself. And that is the purpose. You can't let go into your bigness. I certainly have tried, and most people have tried, unless there's a bigger container than what you already know. Right? It's like already being full in a cup, right? And you're like, I'm going to expand from here. You can't expand. The container is like the size of, you need something bigger to pour it into so you can add more. And that's the space of permission that you and I both hold. And also the accountability of being like, hey, I see you. There's nothing shameful there. Like, maybe we're going to give you a little clean, a little bath, maybe we're going to laugh about some stuff, and then we're going to invite more of you.
Beautiful. Isis, like, how can people find you? What are you up to in the world? What are you offering? I mean, like, I told you, like a week ago, I'm like, I think I have some money dropping in. If I have enough, like, I'm going to jaunt on over to Spain. I've always wanted to go there. I can only imagine not only going to Spain, but to like be in your residence, to have the ability to work with you. What a gift. What are you offering? How can people find you? How can people work with you?
That's so amazing. That's so amazing. Well, right now I'm enrolling for the Feral Female program, which I'm super stoked about, which includes private sessions with me, a retreat in Spain, and a group. And a lot of what we're talking about is building a field of permission. And that's even better done when there's 10 women as opposed to just me. So I am super excited about it. It's going to start November 3rd. So if people are interested in hopping on a call where I'll read their body and just kind of give them an idea of like, okay, here's where we're starting and here's the possibility, like, are you in? I would love that. I'll put a link in below. What are you offering?
Beautiful. Well, I want to say again, November 3rd, Feral Female, a group of feminine identified beauties that are, from all different parts of the world, getting together, growing, transforming beyond belief in a group field. And I just want to say thank you for touching into that, because there is something that happens in a group field that is beyond even the container of working one-on-one, that catalyzes whatever you're deeply wanting, like within yourself or within what you want to offer the world. It catalyzes and catapults that to come to fruition. And so I remember I did my Heart Ninja program with just even 10 women, and I was transformed. I'm like, each call, I'm like, like, shit, I'm stretching. I'm going, like, how much can I hold and like catalyze in my own growth? So, it's like, again, we're being transformed. through these containers. And I love that too, where the sense of teacher and student dissolves, and we're like catapulting all of each other into greatness, you know? So beautiful. You're gonna put the link in so people can find you. Wow. Well, what I want to actually share is me and Michael have developed a quiz, honestly, for open or curious relators. Maybe you've been monogamous and you've wanted to bring in, you know, possibilities for other connections or other play, or maybe you're coming out of a relationship and you're like, you know, what is my truth now? How do I want to relate? Maybe you're, you know, identify right now as, you know, hierarchical polyamory and open relating, but you really want to move into a more sovereign place of just being able to, you know, have multiple connections, but kind of have it be based in what your desire is in the moment, and just communicate that clearly, more of like a relationship anarchy kind of style of relating. There are, I just want to say there's 18 different styles of relating. And a lot of people don't know that. And it's great to understand what works for you. How do other people maybe identify, and just to have the conversation, to start normalizing that there's different ways of relating. And that level of knowing helps you to have more empowerment of yourself, but also the understanding of, is this an appropriate partner or person to connect with? You know, if this person is very, very, you know, very monogamous, very looking for that one partner, and you're more wanting to explore a level of openness, then that's probably not a good configuration. And so it helps to create the discernment and level of boundaries that's needed before jumping into bonding, which then can create a lot of toxic patterns, because there's a lot of fighting and controlling and changing each other. So if you want to find out what is your ideal love style, go to www.openlovestyle.com. It's free to take the quiz. And if you feel compelled to download the style guide, learn about all the different forms, it's $7. It's a little bit more than a Starbucks coffee. This isn't about the money, honestly, for me and Michael. It's about getting this out to mass consciousness and being of service. And I just feel excited. I feel excited to have something that's accessible. So openlovestyle.com, that's what I'd love to share today. And Isis, thank you. It's just been an absolute delight.
Same. Thank you. And I just want to say, I mean, somebody who's monogamous, I have learned a lot of my communication skills through my polyamorous friends. And so I imagine with your background, Michael's background, like what you're doing is amazing and so needed. So needed. So I hope everyone does the quiz. You can find me at feralfemale.com. I forgot to say that part.
Feral female, yeah. It's great too, because monogamous is a style that you can get on the Open Love Style quiz. You know,
okay.
You know, you can answer different kinds of questions too. Some people might go to the page and be like, am I really monogamous? And through a series of questions, you can find out where you are. But I love that. And thank you, because my desire is to take out the right or wrong around dating. I find a lot of people who are open, polarized, making parts of monogamy wrong. I find a lot of people who are monogamous that make open relating wrong. And I just would love to normalize it and find what works for us, be clear about communicating about that, and get curious about the different ways of relating. And we can all learn from each other. I mean, I'm in a period, honestly, of deep containment within my relationship with Michael, and I'm learning so much from being and less, you know, expanding and opening. So I learn a lot from people who are very in a monogamous relationship, and a lot of beautiful values of devotion and, you know, and energy. So we have a lot that we can learn from each other. So thank you, Isis. It's been just such a joy. I'm excited to go back and watch this.
Me too.
Right. So everybody, get your butt over to feralfemale.com. Also, Spain. Come on. Spain. Like, what?
It really is that awesome. I won't lie, especially Granada, where the retreat is. It is that good.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much, Isis. Loving you. Mwah. Bye, everybody.